Today we are diving into a sensitive topic that may get my channel banned, and that is nostalgia in racing games. Since we are primarily a Need for Speed channel, the main focus will be on Unbound, but this really could be used for any game that has great older titles. Look, we all have those classic games we adore, the ones we play to death. But as much as we love them, is the nostalgia actually holding racing games back from evolving? Before we dive deeper into it, y'all know what must be done. The dreaded advertisements of me telling y'all to drop a like, subscribe, and to follow me on Twitch. I know I haven't been live for a few days, leave me alone. It is because I am pumping out these YouTube videos for you all, so that's the reason why. But anyway, make sure to subscribe, follow the Twitch, join the Discord, that's where the family at, and let's dive into how this obsession with the past may be limiting the future of the genre. Let's start with the one big thing, expectations. Nostalgia makes us view certain games with rose-colored glasses, remembering only the best parts. We tend to compare every new release to those past games, wanting to relive that exact experience. But the reality is, what felt revolutionary then might not feel the same way today. We expect developers to bring back that Need for Speed Underground or cough cough Most Wanted vibe or the Burnout crash mechanics, forgetting that game technology, design philosophies, and audience expectations have evolved way past that. The result, developers often feel pressured to recreate the old magic rather than innovate with the new stuff that they can do. They're caught between creating fresh experiences and delivering exactly what we nostalgically want. When games are too similar to past titles, people tend to say they're rehashing the same idea, it's a reskin. But when they try something new, now fans want to reject it because it doesn't match those beloved memories. This leaves little room for genuine progress, creating a loop that limits freedom. Nostalgia also skews our view on game mechanics. Many fans feel like the handling, physics, or customization of older games were quote-unquote better, but often these memories are clouded by the simplicity of the older games. The truth is, the genre has advanced with better physics, engines, realistic handling, and more sophisticated customization options, all that sort of stuff. But because these changes feel different from what we're used to, they're often criticized as a step backwards. Are they really? Nostalgia makes it harder for us to appreciate the new features and polish that developers are bringing to the table with these new games. Let's consider how these older games often provided mechanics that were simpler and, by today's standards, fairly straightforward. This simplicity allowed for easy pickup and play experience many players fondly remember because they allowed for more accessible plug-and-play styles of enjoyment. Because of these memories, fans often feel that the handling, physics, or customization options in those classic games were somehow better or more fun. However, much of that nostalgia is tied to the simplicity of gaming mechanics back then, which contrasts with the more complex systems developers are building today in these newer games. But let's dive a bit deeper. The truth is, racing games have advanced significantly, especially when it comes to the quality of physics engines, which now allow for greater realism in car handling, weight distribution, and collision response. Modern games also use sophisticated customization options that let players fine-tune nearly every aspect of a car's performance, from the suspension settings to the engine to all that sort of stuff, right? But because these modern mechanics feel so different from the basic, straightforward mechanics of older games, they're often met with resistance or deemed too complicated by those who hold tightly to the memories of classic games. This creates a unique challenge for developers. They're innovating to keep up with modern standards in game physics and car dynamics, but sometimes players' nostalgia for the older mechanic causes them to view these advancements as a step backwards or unnecessary. Nostalgia can also cloud our perception of what's possible or even desirable in new racing games. With today's games bringing in features like environmental effects, burst NOS, correct microdrifting, more diverse weather conditions, realistic vehicle damage, all that sort of stuff that can impact gameplay, there is a huge emphasis on immersion into the game. However, when we're attached to the way games used to feel, it can be tough to appreciate the stuff that is added. These new features are genuinely impressive and show how far the racing genre has actually come. But if nostalgia players keep being stuck in the past, it makes it difficult to fully appreciate how much more modern developers are actually putting into the game. These things actually enrich the experience and broaden what's possible in a racing game. While nostalgia certainly makes these past games feel special, don't get me wrong, it can also prevent fans from enjoying the more realistic games, the better games, the more fuller games that give better driving experiences that the modern games have to offer, pushing developers into a corner where they have to balance innovation with the expectations of those who are stuck in the past. Just look at the graphics in today's racing games. The lighting effects, the weather changes, massive open world maps. We're in an era where games can look and feel incredibly real. But because it's not the simpler graphics of old games, some fans feel it's too polished or too animated or too cartoony or unrealistic. Nostalgia can actually make us blind to the new layers of immersion that these advancements provide. We're seeing graphics reach crazy levels of realism, stunning lighting effects, all that sort of stuff, creating an immersive driving experience that has never been seen before. This technology allows players to feel as if they're actually racing in the cities. They're actually racing on the roads. The weather is actually affecting them in real life. But for the fans who are too based in the nostalgia, they want the simpler arcade style graphics of older games, this realism can feel almost too polished, and it strays from the minimalism of the classics. Nostalgia for the old graphic styles sometimes keep players from fully appreciating these new levels of immersion, while the classics hold a special place in people's hearts. Embracing today's graphical advancements allows us to enjoy a richer, more lifelike racing experience that's evolving in ways that the earlier games just simply couldn't achieve in their time. Nostalgia can also fuel the not what it used to be mindset. We see this in comments, especially Reddit, and reviews where fans feel newer games don't capture the spirit of older titles. It's natural to feel that way, but this mindset often leads to a community that's hard to please and resistant to change. When everyone's asking for a return to the good old days, developers are left with little room to experiment or introduce something new. Now, don't get me wrong, there's absolutely nothing wrong with loving those older racing games. They're classics for a reason and they deserve all the praise. But it's essential to recognize that sometimes our love for the past can overshadow the potential of the present. If we keep demanding that new games mirror our favorite classics, we may be limiting the creativity and innovation the racing genre in itself needs to thrive. Take, for example, Need for Speed Unbound. They've tried to mix things up, like adding a simpler story, a more open story, an animated open world, AI, all that sort of stuff, right? These are all attempts to keep the genre fresh. But when fans are too focused on reliving a particular past experience, they might dismiss these innovations outright. Nostalgia in this case creates a tough barrier for developers who are trying to move forward. So where does that leave us? It's all about balance. Nostalgia is powerful, and it's one of the reasons why we love the racing genre in the older racing games in the first place. But if we allow it to dominate our expectations, we risk missing out on what modern racing games can actually offer. So next time you're playing a new racing game, give it a fair shot. Think about what it's bringing to the genre, not just how it compares to the past. It's only about appreciating both the past and the future that we can see the genre truly evolve. How do you all feel about nostalgia and how it impacts the community? Let me know down in the comments below, and remember to drop a like and subscribe, and I will see you all in the next video.